Welcome to Best Kept Secrets Travel, Episode 4, technically Part 2. My name's Morgan.
And my name's Will, and on this episode we are doing the Part 2 of our deep dive into Laos, which we started in the previous episode on Part 1. So if you haven't watched that yet, quickly watch the first one, because you are going to learn so much about the geography, history, amongst other things. Whereas on this episode, we're going to be going into the best activities, best things you can experience, and
Do and see
and everything else, and you're just going to learn a lot. And if you're planning on a trip to Laos or you're unsure of going, trust me, this Part 2 is going to get you excited.
And this is the episode that you need to watch.
100%. You need to watch it right now.
Right now. And later.
But
now.
before we get to that, we're going to roll the outro. Intro. Not outro, we're going to roll the intro.
Best friends, and that's for life. Who stay traveling? I'm talking worldwide. 65 countries between the two. Every moment is so unbelievable. Sharing the best kept secrets about the trips and mistakes they made that they can't forget. So tell me if you're ready for a time to remember as they gear up for the next adventure. Yeah. Woo! Best kept secrets travel.
Okay, so starting off, we're going to look at some of the best things to see.
Me.
I wouldn't go to that place. How about the Vienjai Caves, which were once concealed by an entire city?
Ooh.
Which is why I was talking about the Laotians possibly being quite good at hiding. Because they had a whole cave city.
And they were only 5 foot 1.37 inches on average, so you could get a lot of them in that cave.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more random facts, just go back to Part 1 if you haven't heard. And if you've just forgotten, just go back. It's simple, really. But just over 50 years ago, nestled deep in thick jungles and between limestone cliffs, the Vienjai Caves were once home to over 20,000 Laotians who hid from the American bombings during the Vietnam War for more than a decade. Imagine living in a cave for a decade. This elaborate network of over 450 limestone cave, commonly known as the City of Victory, I guess they got very confident, was founded by Catan Villages, who was head of the Laos Communist Movement. These secret caves were made up of homes, schools, markets, bakeries, a bank, a theatre, an elephant enclosure, and even hospitals for inhabitants. Today, the cave is a museum, and just for people to go and explore and look. Now, I think that's quite a cool thing to go see.
Yeah, I don't like small spaces.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they plan for large people. Probably not, no.
What about even that group of kids that in Thailand were stuck in that cave for ages? Yeah, you say for large people, Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, okay, but this is still a very... I think it's quite interesting.
I mean, people out there who don't mind it, go for it.
I think it's quite interesting to find a place like that housed 20,000 people.
That's insane. That aspect's insane.
Mad.
That almost feels like the Boogie Monster. Like
And
an
probably
underground
1 million
network of people.
elephants.
Another million.
Yeah,
Just
another
1 million elephants per 20,000 people.
Exactly.
So, Wat Pho? The UNESCO World Heritage Site of Wat Pho is an archaeological phenomenon preserved in the mountain in southern Laos. The temple is one of the oldest worship sites in the country, located at the base of the Phu Khao mountain, which is considered a holy mountain. Wat Pho is a Buddhist temple, but you will see relics of its Hindu history. That sounds pretty cool.
I from what I've seen, it looks very
The fact
interesting.
it's at the base of the mountain, I think would look quite amazing going up.
Yeah, and for what the mixture of sort of the Buddhism and Hinduism not mixed together, but
all of intertwined
a bit, made it look very interesting. Definitely something that I would be planning to go and see on my visit.
I think that's the best kept secret. I think that's pretty cool.
And one of the other things you can do, maybe not there, is trek your way through Phong Sally.
Who's she, Morgan?
Oi, oi. If you thought you didn't need to pack a coat for Laos, oh, goodness me, think again. At an altitude of 1,600 meters, mountainous Phong Sali does get cold, but it's worth... Phong Sali does get cold, but it's worth bracing it for the splendid panoramic views. The cloud-cladded mountains and a vast verdant jungle are just some of the reasons to visit this region in Laos. You can go on trekking spots and trekking tours to go all around different parts of the mountain and get different forest views, staying with the unique Acapulco people, and descending into the valley to see the rice fields and rice paddies sprawl out around you. Pretty cool.
Really, it's cool.
Pretty cool.
So, Morgan, you mentioned them slightly earlier, but the capital of Laos, the Vientiane, we could be saying that completely wrong.
No, I was literally just about to say that sounded right.
Vientiane city tour.
No, that one didn't.
Vientiane?
Just go for it.
Vientiane. Vientiane?
Vientiane.
Vientiane. No, it's very much French. This city tour. Due to the vast number of ethnicities that make up the population of Laos, taking a tour in the capital city of Vientiane is an ideal way to grasp an understanding of the history, the culture of the country. A city sightseeing tour will get you to the key tourist attractions of the city, including the Pat Tu Sai Monument.
Patok Sai, maybe.
Wat Sisaket, Wat Pho Cow, and Buddha Park. I've probably slaughtered all of these names, but it is Morgan's fault putting in these tongue twisters for someone he knows struggles to read.
Wat Sisaket.
You really do like a city tour, though.
Buddha Park. I do. I do think always.
We mentioned this in the last one, sorry.
We did mention it
in the planning episode 1 of season 2.
So yeah, 4 episodes. This is episode 4.
Okay.
We filmed a lot in the last couple of days.
Yeah. Episode 1 of season 2, we spoke about city tours. We're often trying to get red hat tours or the free walking tours.
And I think they're a great way to see and explore and sort of see all the good touristy places, but also hear a lot of the background and the stories behind the city and learning a bit of history as well. So you can go back and sort of tell your parents, I went to where Spartacus was from. I did. Thracians are from Bulgaria. Moving on. In Laos, home to the largest waterfall in Southeast Asia, the Khon Phap Pheng waterfall, known also as the Niagara of the East, is located on the Mekong River in southern Laos and is the largest waterfall. It is the largest waterfall, with the highest point being 21 meters. The rapid stretch, almost 10 kilometers down the length of the Mekong River. The waterfall is the main reason that the Mekong is not completely navigable into China, despite many failed efforts of the French colonists in the 19th century.
Yeah, France were never good at wars.
Well, that was a lot of tongue twisters, but I do want to get this up to show you, because...
What, the waterfall?
Yeah, I thought it was quite cool.
We'll just trim this bit down to be quicker reaction. Thank you. Pretty cool looking waterfall you just showed me.
Yeah, it kind of
looks quite aggressive. It's a very different style of waterfall.
Yeah, it's almost like aggressive rapids, and it almost looked like a bowl from what we could see, where it all just sort of goes into the middle.
I'm surprised the largest waterfall in Southeast Asia only has a highest point of 21 meters. But the thing is, the rapids stretch 10 kilometers, so that's why they've put such an argument for it.
Yeah, no, that's...
But we're going to get into the breakdown of the best activities which you can do in Laos.
Ooh.
And starting off, we have a viewpoint, Morgan.
Where is this viewpoint?
It is in Nong Quai.
Nong Quai. Why not?
One of the best visual perspectives of the natural landscape in Laos is from the viewpoint at Nong Quai. In the northern part of the country, if you're up for 1.5 hour trek to the top of the mountain from the tiny village of Nong Quai, you'll see a panoramic view of the flowing Namu River.
And one of the treks that you can do is called the 100 Waterfalls trek, which involves scrambling up a series of cascading falls in northern Laos. And it was only discovered in 2008, and to be honest, is increasingly becoming more popular among the visiting travellers who go sort of through the sleepy village of Nong Kwai. Trekking and kayaking has taken off in this area, and the great thing about the 100 Waterfalls hike is you're generally immersed to your shins in water, grappling up ropes and splashing through streams. So the Laotian heat is less of an issue. You may have a few other issues at this point, but the heat is not one of them, which is quite cool.
I think with something like that, I really hope that it still doesn't get over-touristy and actually damage the beauty of the location. Because that's the saddest thing is sometimes people catch on to this and it becomes such a big thing that it ruins the fun of it.
Yeah, no, I do agree. And that's quite often a case with lots of places where it's kind of semi-touristy and then they find another thing that looks pretty and suddenly massively push it. And then everyone goes and they're just not prepared for the upkeep of it. Which is why lots of hikes that we do, or we have done, because we did the Salkantay trek and both the Inchel trek, has a limit of the number of people that can go on it, which is quite good.
Agreed. Once you finish with this waterfall hike, you could potentially go and do some climbing limestone casts.
Ooh.
Most of the climbing in Laos is centered on the backpacker hub of Van Vieng, which Morgan, it's been brought up so many times, this must be the place to go. With over 200 marked and bolted routes for beginners, intermediate and advanced levels. For more off-the-beaten-track climbs, head down to central Laos, Thai Kiek, where Green Climbers Home run a climbing camp at the base of some of the beautiful casts, boasting one of the easiest overhangs in the world on which to learn on. That's
quite cool.
That sounds insane.
That would be a lot of fun to do and get pictures. Get pictures. The Kong Law Caves, tucked away in the Pho Hin Boon National Protected Area in central Laos. It's a river cave system that stretches more than 7.4 kilometers and is supposedly one of the longest in the world. You can take a boat trip through the caves with a guide who can point out the stunning geological formations. The caves are quite dark and you might get wet. Oh no. With water dripping off the ceiling. Oh no, so awful. Once you make it through the winding caves, waters, and other popular things to do include walking through the tiny rural village of Kong Law and enjoying some other outdoor activities in the national park. The best way to get to the caves is stay in Vientiane and hire a bus. It's about 5 hours from Vientiane. That's the best way to get there.
Sounds amazing. Now, we've done the best things to see and the best things to do so far in Laos. We're going to move on to the best experiences you could have in Laos. This is going to be the cherry on your travelling cake.
Ooh.
This is what you're going to have when you come out of the Backpacker Bakery. Are you ready for it? Because this is the best experiences you're going to have in Laos.
And the first
you seem
one...
slightly amused by that one.
The first one is the coolest thing. It is the tallest treehouse in the world. In the Nam Can National Park of Laos, you can stay in tree houses that are perched 30 to 40 meters above the jungle below, and you can spot black-crested gibbons in their natural habitat. This is made possible by the Gibbon Experience, which is a local tourism-based conservation project which offers visitors the chance to explore the jungle whilst ziplining through the trees and sleeping in the jungle canopy. The entire project was born out of the desire to protect the forest and the local gibbon population, while still providing money to the local community. Now that is definitely a best kept secret and something that, and just think,
that'd be amazing.
If we get more downloads and more subscribers, we can build more tree houses by growing more trees.
Exactly. That's why the more downloads we get on this episode, as I said in part 1, if you haven't gone back and watched it just yet, because you need to after this one, or before you finish watching this one, for every 50 downloads on this episode on a podcast platform, we will be planting a tree in Laos. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Sadly, it won't be in Laos, but it will be a National Trust tree for every 100 subscribers we get.
How amazing. So moving on to the next place.
Trekking to remote Catan Villages. The best treks lead to somewhere unexpected, and the hike to the Catan Villages of Dongpu Vien National Protected Area won't disappoint. After a day walking through the sacred forest, trekkers can stay with Catan Villages and experience a way of life very different to that of the rest of the country's population. The villages believe strongly in spirits, and visitors are taught how to avoid taboo behaviour that may disturb them.
That sounds exciting.
Do you believe in spirits and ghosts, Morgan?
Am I with the Catan people right now?
No, you are with me right now, sat in our state-of-the-art podcast studio. Outside with the seagulls.
Yes. I believe in spirits. Why not?
What, like vodka and rum, or...?
Like Lao Lao.
Ooh!
Lao Lao rice whiskey.
Lao Lao!
I'm scary, seeing as Ghostbusters is coming out. Yeah. Or is out. And we've spoken about this multiple times, and this is the 4,000 islands. But we're going to go into a tiny bit more detail. The 3 main islands that tourists tend to visit are Dong Kong, and Don Det.
Donkey Kong?
So Dong Kong without a G at the end, Dong Kong with a G at the end, and Don Ket. Don Det, not Don Ket. These are remote islands that have sparse, if any, internet and no ATMs, so it's important to plan ahead when visiting. You need to get a ferry or a boat to all of the islands, and you stay in local guest houses. And the journey to these places are the closest you will experience to actually being in ancient Laos. And that's pretty cool. And you get to experience all the views of the Mekong River and taste local cuisine from ingredients grown on these centuries-old farms.
That's pretty insane.
Another experience that I would love to experience.
Another experience you'd love to experience.
I like lots of experiences, just trying as many as possible.
Elephant Village Sanctuary in Luang Prabang is an educational facility dedicated to the rehabilitation and protection of Asian elephants in Laos. The facility also provides employment to villagers. Elephants at the sanctuary are rescued work elephants that are protected. See, that for me is a good place. It's when I have in the past ridden on the back of an elephant. Mm-hmm. Would I do it again? No. Mm-hmm. I now have been educated into realizing that we shouldn't be doing it. Mm-hmm. And I've then since, whenever I've been around elephants or rescued elephants, mm-hmm. or orphaned elephants, which then been sort of taken in, I've then seen it a different way, and I've either walked beside them, or I had the most amazing one when I was in Botswana, actually, because you had all the rivers and mm-hmm. the water. We actually kayaked alongside them.
Oh, that's cool.
So the guys who took care of them in the day, they were going alongside them. I think one of them was on top of the main bull elephant, just mm-hmm. because they knew that it would lead it, and then they had control of the mini herd. Other than that, everyone either went walking beside it, or we did these super thin bottom kayaks. Mm-hmm. That was special.
That sounds like a fantastic experience.
But that sounds quite an amazing facility.
Yeah. And you can also visit the Sinuak Coffee Tour, and it will not take you long to notice Sinuak coffee as you travel throughout Laos, as it is a very prominent coffee supplier and some of the freshest coffee in Laos that you'll ever taste. A trip to the Sinuak coffee plantation in southern Laos along the Bolivan Plateau is an experience you will always remember, so make sure to take a tour, learn about the planting and roasting as you stroll through the grounds, through the plush gardens. That would be great if I liked coffee.
I do like coffee. When you're near the coffee plantation where they've actually been growing it and then roasting it in the sun, the coffee does taste good. But it's the same as being in a brewery or distillery, and when you're in brewery and you have the beer really. When you have the beer straight out of the brewery, or you've got, nice tiny. Oh, in Scotland they call it a dram of whiskey. When you have that straight out, I don't know. I think it's the experience enhances.
Yeah.
The sort of location and the experience you're having then enhances everything about it and makes it even better. I think it will be the same with coffee. But did you know Laos is home to 60 smiling Irrawaddy dolphins?
Irrawaddy.
The Irrawaddy dolphins, with their rounded noses and adorable upturned mouths, have become fondly known as the smiling faces of the Mekong. These beautiful creatures have sadly been dwindling drastically in numbers and are critically endangered as a result of pollution and electrofishing. Today, only 60 are thought to remain in the Mekong River, and pretty soon these extraordinary mammals might well be extinct in Laos. A rare and very, very special sighting. Conservation efforts are currently underway to try and protect and save these local dolphins. That would be sad.
That's quite a sad note. Yeah, suddenly.
Really downturn in that note.
But I would very much like to see it.
But on the more upbeat note, a lot of tourists come along and
Irrawaddy.
spend their day tubing down the Mekong River on the notorious bar crawl of Van Vien.
Should we go to Vang Vieng?
The Van Vien bar crawl was even more notorious, just like Conor McGregor, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, but had to be calmed down due to the amount of tourist deaths. Once again, a really positive note. This was down to too many bars, a cocktail of drugs and alcohol, and people not appreciating how strong the Mekong River current really is. There are 2 bars now on this call, and many a rope swing littered down the river.
So this is like, when you think of Laos as a backpacker, this is like the big thing that people go to.
To tube down the river.
You basically go on these tubing bar crawls, and as you said,
Yeah,
there's
I can see why it's dangerous.
Yeah, only one, well, 2 bars now. But yeah, you have your drinks, like you turn up, there's like shop people on the door, they give you like free shots, you go in, have beers, have a few more drinks, and then you get back in your vehicle and you drive down the river.
Right, Morgan, this is not a vehicle, this is a piece of plastic inflatable on a zoomy river with giant catfish, smiling dolphins.
Okay, but yeah, you get drunk and you go down in your tube and you go to the next bar. Really cool experience. You can definitely see why it's dangerous.
Yeah, I can see why it's dangerous, Morgan.
So why is it dangerous?
Drunk people, drugs, plastic, cheap inflatables, strong river.
Makes sense. It'd be much better than a weekly river. It's good.
Yep. So, do you know many creators which have travelled in Laos?
Drubinski.
Yeah, okay, obviously, because he's now travelled to every country in the world, and now his goal is to travel to all the unrecognised unrecognised
countries.
by the United Nations countries.
Yeah.
I can't really think of that many creators who have specifically done Laos.
Gordon Ramsay?
Okay, yeah,
technically a creator.
maybe Top Gear guys as well.
Yeah.
Because I think they've been through them all.
And I think anyone ever who's been on a gap year.
But most importantly, before we close up this episode and push the fact that every single person right now viewing and listening to this episode of this part 2 of the deep dive of Laos, if you were to go to Laos and see or do one thing that we've spoken about in this episode, what would it be?
That is tough. I think the one that, I mean, straight up, I would love to do the tubing bar crawl. That would be really cool. But I think out of everything that we've spoken about, the gibbons and the tallest treehouse in the world, I think would be my top.
That's yeah.
Because I think that is just such a unique
I'm surprised you didn't go for
experience.
something like the caves with 20,000 people. That's pretty unique.
It is unique, but you don't get to do as many activities. That's more of a sort of walking museum. It's still very cool, and of course I will do it when I go. But if I had to pick one, I think the treehouse, because it doubles with the gibbons, the animals, the conservation, and then also the large sleeping in a treehouse, and the largest treehouse like 30 or 40 meters in the air. I just think that's really cool. What about you?
Treehouse, really up there. I'd love to go and do the rock climbing and everything.
Yeah.
I think that'd all be amazing.
Mm.
I don't know. I think the drunk tubing is so far down because of what the country has to offer.
Yeah.
You know, realistically, I'd spend a day fishing in the Mekong River just because that'd be an absolute bucket
Do
list.
it on the pub crawl.
No, what you
It's
go
like a
get
beer
drunk on the
cup.
river, and I'm just sat there with a fishing rod.
In the tube.
Yeah, I'll go down with the tube. Oh, Morgan, his catfish is taking me 5 miles upstream. No, I'd probably spend a day fishing in the Mekong. You probably end up.
I'd love to see the Irrawaddy dolphins.
Yeah, I mean there are only 60 left, Morgan.
The
It'd
elephant,
be insane to see.
The
them.
elephant sanctuary as well. The animals.
The caves would be cool.
The caves. The trekking.
The million-tiered waterfall.
Yeah, the billion-tiered
bajillion Googleplex
waterfall.
tiered waterfall. I think it'd all be pretty unreal.
And I can't believe, like, now having done all this research, I can't believe when we planning. Well, I didn't plan this trip.
Yeah,
but it was a very well planned trip. What we did, and it was what first properly got me into loving backpacking. But now I'm just like, I wish we thought about spending a lot, because even if we went to Laos, it would have been 2 to 3
but we
days.
haven't really done Asia together.
No,
We've done Bangkok for 10 hours.
no, we could do a long weekend in Asia.
If we get 100,000 views on this YouTube video, the second we get them, we'll book a flight for a weekend in Asia.
Long weekend.
Weekend in Asia, which fits into someone with a normal 9 to 5 working week
Yes.
without taking a day's holiday.
Well, so you can do that with South Africa.
Yeah, you can with South Africa.
Yeah.
You really can.
Because you can, and the flights work so perfectly because you have a Friday evening flight, because I have checked.
Yeah, I know.
Friday evening, arrive Saturday morning, and then Sunday evening, arrive Monday morning, go to work.
Yeah, I know. I know people who've done it.
So do I. That's why I checked.
It's
And
insane.
then I was like,
So I think that is
not cost benefit analysis.
a rapid-dap
on
on our deep dive into Laos. If you like this format where we split it across 2 episodes where we sort of broke up really different sections, let us know.
And
if you prefer the old ones, if you think there's something we could do completely differently, drop a comment below, message us on our email, the bkstravel@gmail.com, or message us on our Instagram.
And if you really like this episode, which I'm sure that you did, make sure to leave a review on all podcast platforms and follow us on YouTube, which is Best Kept Secrets Travel, as it is on podcast platforms where we're on Castro, Apple, Spotify, Google. We're on all of them. Name it, we're on it. Except that one.
Except that one.
Yeah. These episodes for us are meant to be a deep dive travel guide into these countries. If you think there is something that we're missing in our deep dives, as in a section, then please tell us and we'll add it to our next deep dive.
So, Morgan, what are we going to do?
Roll the outro.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I hope that you can handle going on adventures, best kept secret travels. Yeah, all over the globe, having fun, you know the deal. Amazing secret locations, hang out with Morgan and Will. Educate and entertain, haggle in the market, sharing their experiences. Time to get it started. Let's go.